It's a new year, it's a new me, and it's time for a new debt strategy. Wow, that sounded a lot more corny than I thought it would. What's up YouTube? My name's Anna and this is Anna Does Money, a channel where I talk about money making and money saving strategies as well as my personal debt recovery journey. Last year I paid off about $12,000 of my credit card debt and I now have about $15,000 left. I also have a student loan and a personal loan, but my first focus is my credit card debt since that is the highest interest. So $12,000, it could have been better, it could have paid off a lot more, but it definitely could have been a lot worse. I think I learned a lot about myself, why I got into this situation in the first place, and how to better budget my money and really live within my means. I think there should be no problem paying off the rest of this $15,000 this year. But it's a new year and I think this calls for a slightly different approach to how I'm paying off the debt. I started by using Dave Ramsey's snowball method where you target your smallest debt first, knock that one out, and then move on to your other debt. But you always make sure you're paying off minimum balances on all your accounts. Then I switched to something similar to an avalanche method when I was targeting the highest debts first, which was all my credit cards, but also trying to get all the credit cards down to below 30% of their max value, which would improve my credit score. Slowly, month by month, I was knocking down my debt. Some months were better than others, as you can see by my old videos that some months my debt went up, but overall, I think I'm pretty proud of how my 2021 went. Now, the problem with all these methods I was using last year is that I wasn't putting anything towards savings or investments. And that's what Dave Ramsey, a lot of other finance gurus are recommending, because if you put something into an investment fund, likely you're gonna see something like 8% returns a year, where if you're paying 20% or more on a credit card, really it makes more sense to pay down that credit card first. I did have about $2,000 in a savings account, which would have been my emergency money. But since emergency money should be about 3 to 6 months of your living expenses, this is definitely not enough. So pretty much I was at the mercy of my job. Like if I lost my job, I would not be able to survive more than maybe a month. Right now, my living expenses, including all my minimum payments on my debts, are about $3,000. So realistically, if I want to save between 3 and 6 months worth of living expenses, I need between $9,000 and $18,000 in an emergency fund. While I'm not going to be able to save that much money very quickly, and I still want to continue paying off my debt, I think it's important to work towards that $9,000 figure while I'm still paying off debt. That's the only way I'm gonna feel like my job doesn't control me, and that if something happened, that I wouldn't be totally screwed. In the world we live in with COVID, which is still for some reason going on, we gotta be prepared for everything. And that means having good emergency savings. And I know this means paying off my debts will take longer and I will pay more in interest in the long run. But for me, just being mentally stable with my finances and knowing that if something happened like that, I would be okay, at least for a few months while I found some sort of other work, is where I need to be. So here's my new plan. I get paid $5,838 a month. I get paid twice a month on the 15th and the 31st. $3,000 of that monthly payment automatically goes to my living expenses, so that's about 51%. And that includes all my living expenses as well as minimum payments on my credit card, student loan, and personal loan. I try to leave a buffer about $450 to $500 on top of that $3,000 for miscellaneous expenses. If you follow the 50-30-20 rule, this is kind of like my want section. I don't always end up spending it, but I find it's good to budget something for miscellaneous things that are maybe not in my regular tight budget, like buying contact lenses that maybe I only do once a year, or something comes up, I have a dental bill or other things. Sorry, I'm not really good at coming up with examples today, but hopefully you get the gist of what I'm trying to say. Then from each paycheck, I'm gonna be deducting $500 immediately. So that's automatically going to be transferred to a different savings account for that emergency savings. So that's going to be $1,000 a month, or about 17% of my monthly income. So that leaves me with about 24% or $1,400 to put towards my credit card debt on top of the minimum payments. So that's pretty good, and that should allow me to reach that target pretty easily of paying off that debt in the next year. I think this year is going to be really successful because I've already done a lot of this grunt work of reworking my living expenses, making sure those are knocked down, removing any additional expenses like Netflix subscriptions and other subscription services that may have accumulated over the years. And I'm really blessed to have a new job that I've been doing for the last 6 months, which is the reason why I haven't posted much, which allows me quite a large salary, and I'm aware of how blessed I am with that salary and makes it so I can put this much into savings while still paying off a large proportion of the debt. Even if you have significantly lower salary than I do, don't fret. I still think that it's good to put at least something away into savings. Start with maybe 5%, which could be, I don't know, $50 to $100 a month that you might not even notice is missing from your account because it is such a small amount. You probably will keep leaving the same quality of life that you have been. If you're like me, like it might feel a lot better to just have that little amount of savings growing while you're still paying off your debt. And if you feel great just following Dave's method and pretty much putting all of your extra income into debt repayment, good for you, keep going. It's definitely the most cost-effective way of doing it. I just get a little bit nervous not having enough in my emergency fund to do that at this point. So once again, I know that this is not the most cost-effective way of doing this, and I know that in the long run, I'm not gonna have as much money, but for me to feel mentally stable and okay that if I lost my job, it wouldn't be the end of the world, that's super key for me to stay productive and stay on top of my finances. So that's it for today, a little bit of a short video, but I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will try and stay a little bit more consistent with the posting now that I'm more settled in my new job. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you next week on Anna Does Money. Peace out, dudes.